Hello the channel, welcome back everyone. Hope you're all doing well. You're looking forward to another big weekend coming up on Sorare. There's going to be lots happening, there's no doubt about it. There's no Celtic this weekend, so there we go. I've got my Ajax top on at the moment. I don't even know if Ajax are playing this weekend, to be honest, but doing a lot better obviously in the Eredivisie. So we're looking ahead to the weekend anyway. But a good chance to have a look at some other teams for me to give you some thoughts on some good players to pick out for the weekend. We've got Cap 250 mode this weekend, so that's quite an interesting one. I'm finding it quite an interesting time in Sorare in general at the moment, just because everything's running just now. The MLS is on, got all the Asian leagues back, the usual carnage for that. So there's definitely a lot happening and there's lots of fun to be had. As always, we'll use Igal's spreadsheet at Sorare probabilities. Doing this video quite early in the week, so we'll not be looking too much at Predictor in terms of predicted lineups. But if you do want to sign up for Predictor, please do use the code McBrideAce, because that does help the channel, which there are 2,000 subscribers, but still does actually make a loss. But anyway, that's fine. There's no problem with that. I think everybody probably knows that by now. It's not quite getting there in terms of Mr. Beast or John Nellis and all that sort of shebang. And for Sorare probabilities, no code or anything for that. If you're interested in using the spreadsheet, you'll see it in a wee minute. It's a brilliant service. I've been using it for a while now, and I must say it is really a key indicator in some of the results. I'll show you how to use it as well, connection with the caps, and maybe pick out some guys who have pretty good fixtures. Anyways, let's have a look at the preview first and foremost, see what is happening in terms of good games for this weekend. And then we'll go from there. So yeah, as I said, there's no Celtic this weekend. Celtic are playing a cup. The next game Celtic got SO5 wise is 16th of March, which is against Rangers. So that's going to be an interesting one. Anyways, Liverpool against Southampton, 3.37 XG, 53%, 54% clean sheet percentage. I think everybody knows at the moment, like, you're kind of looking ahead in the calendar and saying, who are Southampton playing? It's going to be a good show. After we've done this, because we usually do a specific focus on Celtic, etc., I'm going to do a specific focus on Challenger, which is a division I've been doing a bit better in recently, just to mix it up a wee bit. Bayern Munich against Bochum, 57% clean sheet percentage and 3.27 XG. Doesn't surprise me. I mean, Celtic gave them a good game. If I'm honest, Celtic played very, very well. Some of the best performances this season, really, for Celtic. But they're a top team. Really are. Bochum are pretty poor as well, so I can see why it's definitely sticking out. Barcelona against Osasuna. Interesting for some of the teams like Barcelona, because obviously we've got Champions League and everything midweek, and will there be elements of fatigue or rotations or whatever coming in? Barca have scored a lot of goals this season, 2.93 XG, 45% clean sheet percentage seems a bit generous. Conceded a lot of goals, but I guess they will hit some clean sheets at some points. Chelsea against Leicester. Chelsea have got a game, I think, away against Copenhagen, although they've got a huge squad, obviously, so they just rotate quite a lot. They've got guys who can just play in that competition or whatever. Leicester have been pretty poor. I mean, big Ruud van Nistelrooy's not really pulling up any trees. PSV, a real interesting one. I mean, 2.77 XG. They're doing so badly, I forgot they're even playing this weekend. Honestly, I mean, from Challenger point of view, we'll come back to filtering to Challenger, so I'll not say too much about it, but a real poor run for PSV, but it looks like a better fixture. Inter Milan against Monza. The real standout clean sheets, usually Inter Milan, right? I mean, did notice there's a few sort of cheaper Sommers up. So you're kind of new to Inter Milan or playing champion or whatever. Inter Milan not currently licensed, so the thing is, you buy a Sommer, then he holds his value pretty well, and obviously you need to run 4 sort of other cards with him if you're playing in season. But yeah, he's back on the bench tonight. So I think Martinez, we call him, started, but back on the bench, 65% clean sheet percentage, just wild. It's like the highest you'll see anywhere really in terms of the stats. Leverkusen against Werder Bremen. Again, Leverkusen, the game midweek, etc. 2.46 XG, 54% clean sheet percentage. Here we've always got on the right hand side in the sheet now expected goals against. So you'll see, for example, Bayern's expected goals against only 0.48. pretty low. Benfica against Nacional Funchal. Again, we need to kind of watch out for rotations and everything here. I mean, these games are falling like between games now. If Barcelona like bash up Benfica or whatever, then they might not really be too concerned. But yeah, if Benfica keep it to a goal or so in it or whatever at home, or even if they get a win, then you might see some rotations there. So keep an eye out for all the news. Copenhagen against Sunderskis. Copenhagen are not currently licensed. 20 against Almere is a pretty good fixture. A couple of guys doing pretty well there. I mean, Vlap's doing pretty well in midfield. Lagerbielke's on loan from Celtic, so I know him pretty well. Real Madrid against Vallecano. There's been no sort of Jude Bellingham and everything recently. Real Madrid played pretty well against Atletico. They do seem to step up at this time of the season, but just it's kind of unreliable from a sort of stacking perspective. But yeah, in that game, 2.36 XG expected to score goals. Trabzonspor, Nordsjælland, we're going to come back to them in a wee minute. Inter Miami against Charlotte, 2.27 XG. Messi's had these sort of rest recently. I see like Mascherano saying he's kind of a bit of a muscle overload already, and looks early in the season, you want to prevent any further injuries. So I remember Messi is quite old. I mean, he's only a couple of years younger than me, right? So he's getting old, right? So yeah, he's getting old. So you can't play every game, right? That's just not the way it works when you get old. You'll come to that point at some point if you're younger and you're watching this. Nothing else really standing out, I suppose, but we're going to filter down a wee bit because there's so many fixtures on just now, and over 2 XG is still pretty good. Anyone else that's standing out here? USG, Royal Union St Galwaz have got quite a lot of good young players just now. I'll talk more about the sort of angle of buying sort of good young players having come back to Challenger in a wee minute. Besiktas doing pretty well at the moment. Lille got a good fixture against Montpellier. LA Galaxy really disappointing so far. Really missing Riku Puig. Anyone else standing out? I think Rijeka against Cybernik's a real good one. So obviously clean sheet percentage 63%. Cybernik are pretty poor. Win percentage 78%. So that's up there with as high as you'll see. Dortmund a good fixture against Augsburg. Augsburg not been great recently. Crystal Palace against Ipswich Town is an interesting one. I will be using Daniel Munoz, etc. I think he's a pretty good shout this weekend as well. And we'll come back, see if there's anybody really sort of standing out in terms of the sheet and the projections. So we have a quick look at Challenger. I mean, I've had my first podium in Challenger D1 Super Rare, which I'm really proud of. I mean, Celtic have been really good this season, so buying Celtic Super Rares has been kind of hard not to win some, if you know what I mean. I'm not saying there's no skill in that. There obviously is skill in who you pick and what games you pick those guys for and managing that. But yeah, be able to come into Challenger this time of the season and kind of be competitive is really quite good. And I think what it does is it kind of validates some of the sort of processes I'm going through. Mentioned Union St Galwaz there, and obviously, so you've got Nordsjælland on the sheet as well. I think these clubs are clever football clubs. USG have got the tie-in with Brighton. Brighton are one of the best run football clubs in the UK. They get talent in, they get them in a good value. They sign guys like Matoma. They say, oh, well, we'll send him to USG because we want him acclimatised to Europe. He goes and he tears up the Belgian league, then he goes and tears up the EPL. Fantastic player. What's that got to do with Nordsjælland? Well, Nordsjælland are the sort of right to dream academy, and there's loads of guys went through there, guys like Kudus, etc. Producing loads and loads of talent. That fantastic player Diamande that plays at the Rangers scores horrendously in Sorare, and this is the week where I need to avoid him. But yeah, I mean, they produce loads and loads of really top players, so it's an exciting project. So when you're looking at buying guys, particularly if you're buying maybe second half of the season, you've got to kind of think ahead, right? You're not buying these guys to sell them next week. You're buying them to use them at the end of the season, then you're going to have them as classic cards or under 23 cards or whatever. So I do really like that angle as well, and there's lots of talent obviously in those squads. So Challenger focus wise, I mean, I don't want to see PSV at the top of the list. They've not been very good recently though. Even Veerman's not firing. Tough fixture run. You'd imagine they're going to have to focus on the league again because they get absolutely bashed by Arsenal, which was a great performance. So I think they'll go pretty strong here. So that me running other sort of players or whatever, that's a bit of a worry. If they go ballistic, score a few goals, get really nice sort of all-round scores. Benfica, as I said, you've got to be careful with them, I think, between the Champions League games. I'll keep an eye on what's happening against the Barcelona game on the media stuff, the stuff on Twitter, etc. 20, again, I've been a bit better recently. Lager Bielki, I think the lads is De Rouge, came out with the guy I won recently. They're pretty solid in central defence. Trabzonspor, but a wee bit of a interesting one to keep an eye out for. Kakir's playing pretty well just now. Pretty good clean sheet chance there. Around about 43%, but you find when Kakir gets a clean sheet, gets a bit of AA as well, so he's kind of quite a peak type goalkeeper. Trabzonspor not been brilliant, but Hatayspor are like 18th. Nordsjælland, think 2.28 XG, so they're not up there with the best in the top three, but bear in mind there's a lot of games on this weekend, and Vegel or whatever, Bold Club, just call them Bold Club, Big Bold Club, are rubbish. They're bottom of the league, so yeah, that's one you would fancy. They'll get a few goals. I don't really like a full Nordsjælland stack, to be honest. I mean, Hansen just doesn't really do any good scores because they're a fun team. They're like an exciting young team with loads of top talents and stuff around there. Guys like Nygren, Hogsberg's been playing central defence. Maho Dargeli's in midfield. Egeli, Levy Nene came in, scored a hat-trick, then had a wee injury problem. Will he be back? So I've got loads of young players, and also they're actually pretty cheap and limited level and everything. They're just not expensive at all. So, even some of the rares are not expensive. So definitely some stuff like that you keep a look. And you look at Daniel Svensson, he's moved to Dortmund, starting left back for Dortmund. So these guys have good pathways to good careers. You might have some champion type classic cards for future. Guys who are 19, 20, good careers ahead of them, use them for years and years and years. Have a bit of patience, get some value from your cards over time. Anything else standing out here? Galatasaray are a bit hit or miss, but certainly capable of putting up some big scores. I don't really have any real exposure to Galatasaray at the moment. Fenerbahce, I don't think have a game. That's a shame for me, but that's obviously they're between European ties against the Rangers. Midtjylland, I've been sort of looking at. I think Arrow Simpson's a cracking player. Francolino as well, I think is a really good player. Just kind of like came back and Books has been kind of keeping him out, or maybe playing Osorio. Simsier, Buxa and Osorio, but Francolino should be playing. He's just he's a cracking player as well. Doesn't really get the same sort of AA as Simsier, but yeah, Simsier is definitely one to look out for as well. Anything else sticking out? I don't think they're sticking out here in terms of the sheet, but I do have some sort of Brøndby stuff as well. I think like Yuto Suzuki is really good. Rasmussen's been excellent. Patrick Pent's not really their big scores because they're conceding daft goals, but like he would have been doing a lot better if they just cut out that stuff, But yeah, if they lose one or two of the last two games, they might be in the bottom six, and it could be really pretty good for SO5 because then you're playing against Bold Club, big Bold Club every week. So anyways, a bit of a special focus there on Challenger. I just thought I'd do that because I've been doing a bit better the Challenger recently, which is pretty nice to be honest. So I had this filter to Challenger rare as well, just because I was using the sheet earlier. So Kaki are pretty good projected score. Mentioned Patrick Pens. The Ant Ramage been excellent by the way. If you can pick up a Ramage, Dortmund have signed him. Maybe they will keep him out on loan for a bit longer. It looks excellent. Hogsberg I talked about. Lager Bielki. Pick up maybe one of those like Celtic cards or whatever as well. In-season Celtic stuff flying about. You can maybe add it to your Celtic collection and play a bit of Challenger. Maho Dargeli, as I mentioned. Remember, these are my players. Manor Solomon, obviously no in-season stuff for Leeds, but a good fixture. Benny Nygren. Jew I mentioned, although he's only 50-50 to start. Obviously, you're going to come up against a Simhen, Trincao, Guy Okeres, etc. But these guys don't always do hundreds. I always kind of looked at it with PSV. It's going to be possible to beat PSV, but it's been a while since PSV have just 1-0 and everybody's got 80s and 90s and 100s and stuff. That happens. There's nothing you can do about that. You just got to play against that and know that sometimes it's actually going to happen. So let's have a quick look at what's on this weekend, and then we'll come back, see if we can have a look at Cap 250, see if we can pick out any sort of gems on the sheet. So in terms of this weekend, as I said, I think there's an MLS specialist as well. I guess if we've got an MLS filter on the sheet, we can have a look at that too. I have pre-picked my in-season sort of EPL team. So as I said earlier, I'm going to go with Dean Henderson and Munoz. I think Munoz got a pretty good fixture against Ipswich. I'm going to run Mo Salah in here. I don't have a lot of in-season Liverpool stuff. I'm not really going to buy them at this time of the season, so I'm a bit late for that. But Mo Salah has been obviously exceptional. So, if Liverpool win 5-0 or whatever, then this team might have no chance. But you never know. I mean, Southampton, although they're pretty poor, they do score some goals, So if they get a goal, Liverpool win 4 or 5. It's all the attacking players that do well. Then, you can beat that by getting a clean sheet elsewhere. That's the point. So we've got Cap 250 running as well, and we've got the MLS competition running. So those are the sort of specials out with General All-Star. In terms of the specialist for MLS, let's actually have a quick look at this in the sheet as well. See if anything we can pick out. So we need 4 in-season cards, 2 players from the same team as the max. You need 2 players which are averaging under 50. So let's see if we can work some magic on the sheet. So yeah, as I said earlier, this spreadsheet's from Sorare Probabilities. It is a paid service, so if you're interested in having a look at that, give a gal a shout. S_probabilities on X or Twitter, whatever you want to call it these days, or if you message me, I'll send you a link. You'll give you a free trial as well. So, who have we got in terms of the under 50s here? So if you're playing MLS in season, you're going to have to pick an under 50 card. Anyone sort of standing out here? Johnny Russell, I don't know if he's still actually playing any football these days. Bernardeschi is an interesting one. Midfielder card projected 74. You see, it looks like he's on the penalties and everything. Maybe some corners too. Jesus Ferreira, interesting one for Seattle, definitely capable of hitting quite high. Andre Blake will be a popular one. I think he'll be used a lot in the goalkeeper selection. Projected 68 here. Clean sheet percentage 25%, so not that high actually. But then that's kind of not unusual for MLS goalkeepers, right? Got Zanka there as well, a guy who's moved over from Europe, so imagine a few people have jumped on that in terms of the transfer. Last 15 of 49, so yeah, if you think confident he's going to play, that's a reasonable shout there as well. Myrtle Azuni was a guy who had done pretty well in past SO5 wise, so wouldn't put you off maybe using him. Bear in mind you do need to pick 2, so if you've got like an Andre Blake or whatever, that'd be good. Hugo Kuiper's an interesting one. I think you'll get an increase in service now, so yeah, I mean obviously he just needs like a decisive to beat the 50 cap. Well, you need good scores, but you know what I mean. Roman Celentano, again, not been doing so well, but pretty good. I mean, 38% clean sheet percentage, probably the best you're going to get in the MLS. Lucas Engel as well, again, guy who puts up some really nice scores, coming in under the last 15 average 50. Anyone else standing out? Eduard Atuesta, interesting one. Not hit any really high scores yet, but I think he's capable of doing that. Be interested to see whether or not he gets any sort of set pieces and things like that. I mean, he used to be really, really good for Atalanta playing Italy. Joho Yin, really good player, guy who did pretty well in the K-League. So he's definitely one to keep an eye out on. These are down the lower of the projected scores now, but see you've got some pretty regular starters here. So Jean-Jacques, Noah Ellie, Alvas Powell, Lujan, so it's like Diego Luna. I mean, when he gets going, he can put in some really high scores. So Diego Luna is definitely one. And bear in mind, you can obviously you need 4 in-season cards, but you can pick up a classic card as well if you're doing this for limited, etc. There's a good amount of cash floating about for that. So that's at MLS. What we're going to do as well is do the cap 250, see if we can pick out some players maybe that are under 45 average. So this will take a wee bit to load up again, and then we'll see if we get anybody that's got really sort of outstanding fixtures but under sort of general 45 average. So yeah, there'll be some proper interesting ones in here. The other thing is obviously it's quite early for the predictions and everything. So if you do have access to the sheet in due course, then you can filter this to start percentage as well once all the predictions are updated via the sheet and otherwise can be a bit better. Raman Hendricks, interesting one there. Sheet really likes that fixture, 65% win percentage, 2xG as a defender, so only 38 clean sheet percentage, but looks like quite a good fixture there. Cam Boz, the Gan's a name that I know pretty well too. There's some other ones here like Michael Fay that I don't really know so well. Davitashvili looks pretty interesting. It looks like he's on free kicks and pens there, so if he's got quite a high project score, then that could be an interesting one. It's not a guy I hold myself, so that's one of the reasons why I can't pronounce his name. The other reason is just general incompetence in terms of actually pronunciations. So we'll go down here and see if there's anybody else. Bear in mind these are all guys who are under 45, right? So I'm picking this at a range so that like it's somebody that can contribute a decent score to your cap 250, because you still want to get guys who can hit like 80s and 90s and stuff like that, but doing it with that cap's a lot harder. And if you get somebody in who's like a zero cap or whatever, Gabriel Vidovic, if you think they're going to play, I don't know if you will or not, but you get somebody like that, it can be really handy because you can build out the cap. I don't know off the top of my head if there's any zero sort of goalkeepers or whatever that are going to be back this weekend, but again, if you can pick somebody like that out, that's pretty much gold dust. In terms of sheet, Benita, again, he's been playing sort of fullback. It's only 20%. I've been playing as much recently. Mark Bartra used to play for Barcelona, so that's a pretty interesting one. Only averages 43, but looks like a pretty good fixture. 69% win percentage, 48% clean sheet, 2xG for the team. So yeah, that's a pretty interesting one if you fancy he's going to play. Anyone else standing out here? Chimi Avila, I'm not sure how much he's been playing recently, but again, good fixture. Danny Silva's popping up down there. I'm trying to see if there's anybody who really stands out who I think is going to play. I mean, Fafa Pico definitely could get a shout for Miami, but I don't know how fit he is at the moment. I think he had a sort of injury issue. Fabian de Keiser's interesting one. Again, pretty low clean sheet percentage for Heracles, but pretty high project score. So a guy like that who's only averaging 45, you only really need to just avoid conceding 3 and just get a bit of AA to be useful as part of the team, because then you can build the rest of the team with guys who average maybe 55 or whatever, because you've got 250 cap. Jose Sa, interesting one. He's been pretty nailed, I think, recently for Wolves. Not been doing very well in general, but there we go. Samson Tijani's pretty talented player. Again, don't know how much he's been playing. You find that here, we're going through these players, and a lot of guys here you just think they're not really been playing much recently, but you pick out some of these, some of the gems, some of the guys that do hit 70s and 80s in a cap 250, and you can put good strong scorers beside them. It can be really quite beneficial there. Brian Gill there, it's quite surprising he's down so low, but again, a guy who's pretty talented and put up pretty good scores, including a wee bit of AA. Sheldrup's an interesting one, always seems to score pretty well. Not been playing as much recently, but you could be rotated in, and you imagine a reasonable chance he's going to be rotated in between Champions League games. See Nico Serrano popping up here as well. I do own his unique, so know him pretty well. He scored really well in La Liga 2 the last time, so again, he's a guy you could definitely take a bit of a chance on. Only averaging 42, which is pretty interesting, so yeah, I mean, it's not that hard to sort of beat the cap with him. Anyone else standing out? Eddie Nketiah. Yeah, I mean, pretty interesting one. Not been doing very well, but Palace got a good fixture against Ipswich, and obviously Mateta's out. What a horrendous tackle that was. Jeez. Honestly, absolutely horrendous. Try to pick out the ones where it's probably more have a good chance that players are going to play. There's nobody else really standing out at me, because a lot of these names I don't really know so well, if that makes sense. So there we go. So that should hopefully give everybody some ideas. Spent nearly as much time as I do spend when we're talking about Celtic as well. So I've started picking some teams for the weekend myself. I haven't really decided exactly what I'm doing with Challenger, but I'm enjoying the playing in Challenger Super Rare, playing in season. I did have some reservations, thinking that going in at this time of the season, people would have big bonuses and all that sort of stuff. But sometimes you got to be clever with your strategy. You're not going to come in and buy a PSV stack at this time of the season and then beat the PSV stackers, right? It's March, so like if you're going to come in, by all means say, well, you think, well, I need a Boscaglia and I need a Joey Veerman, but you're going to have to put other pieces with them. You can't just play PSV players, because PSV win 5-0, then the PSV stacks are going to win. So that's the kind of message. Be clever. If you're really ever struggling with your team selection, or you're struggling in terms of how to put the team together, whatever, then by all means send me a message or whatever. I'll do my best to try and give you a bit of guidance on it. But it's a strategy thing, in that can become a bit more advanced, obviously, when you start thinking about that. But it's always relevant to think about this time of the season, particularly because we're getting towards the tail end of the supply. It's like, Liverpool got a great fixture. I'm not going to go and start buying Liverpool limited cards for this weekend. I mean, there'll be gazillions, if that's even a word. Still a Dr. Evil, 100 million billion gazillion, but there'll be so many Liverpool stacks because people just think Liverpool are going to bash up Southampton. So, if you don't have a good XP Liverpool stack, or you want to pick up a Liverpool player just now, you're going to have to run loads of differentials. Otherwise, you're just never going to beat those guys. They've got 16, 17, 18% bonuses and stuff, and it's just going to be very, very difficult if that turns out the way that everybody would probably expect it to turn out. But again, you never know. They might make some rotations and stuff. They're going really well in the league, playing against PSG tonight, and they might freshen things up a wee bit. Maybe they'll just say, Salah, you can sit this one out. We've got a really important Champions League tie. You're going to sit on the bench, and I'll look like a complete donkey having captained them. So I'll need to keep an eye out for that news as well. So anyways, that's nearly half an hour. Thanks again for watching. It is much appreciated. As I said earlier, we've got to 2,000 subscribers, which is quite a nice milestone. Not too focused on that. I want to make sure that people are sort of learning a bit for the channel, people enjoy watching, etc. That's the sort of main focus, to be honest. If there's anything you guys would like to see, let me know. I'm not good at editing videos, so unless somebody wants to do that for me and not charge me an arm and a leg, that's never going to happen. So you're just going to get what it is: some reward videos, some strategy videos, some weekend previews, some midweek previews, some stuff for the specials. But hopefully you learn something, you live and you learn some stuff from the channel, and that's plenty. I've been talking for ages. So playing this weekend, we end in the customary fashion. Thanks again for watching. Good luck. Go for it.